We might get complete strangers join. Who knows? Oh, it's live. Crazy. All right. We might get complete strangers join. Who knows? Oh, it's live. Crazy. All right. There you go. Mute that.
Yeah, that won't be distracting at all.
Complete strangers join. Who knows? Oh, it's live. Okay, so I muted that. We'll give it another few minutes and then we can have actually I'm gonna unmute Mr. Marty or remove permission to talk so then we're live. So we're just gonna give it another, what do you think? 5 minutes or so?
Yeah.
Few minutes. While we're going live, of course, people will be trickling in here and there. Also being live on YouTube as well. I don't think their YouTube chat will come through for us. Then there's, of course, we're going to have the questions and answers. So anybody can ask the panelists anything that they like and we can go through it.
Yeah, whoever's not presenting, we can keep an eye on that and try to herd the cats.
Perfect. Perfect. So yeah, we'll just get live. We'll get started at 6:10 Central Time.
Let's not punish the people who were punctual. We can get started in
That's true. That's true.
60 seconds. How about
60
that?
seconds it is. And we will be going live. Well, technically, we're already live on YouTube. Hello, everybody. All right. Well, we can just go over the overview as people kind of trickle in. This is going to be the agenda today. So we're just going to start off by reviewing a little bit about who I am, Hugh, and who Dean is, and why, that's important, why you should care. Then we're going to get into a condensed version of Automate Your People. And that's basically the step one of that, basically the lean hiring side. And the Automate Your Process side is going to be Dean. So we'll hand over to him. Then we're going to talk about an awesome event that we're going to be hosting. And if you like this event and you are here for this event, then you're probably going to really like the underground. We'll just allude to it. Mystery event that we have that you guys will get a discount to. Then we're going to open up the Q&A. And then that's where everybody can download all the resources and prompts and stuff. Anything else to add to that before we get started? Nope. All right. A little bit about me. I am the Venn diagram between lean, which is the science of efficiency, background is manufacturing, and real estate, or building wealth. And through that, I used to run a $52 million international company. And I basically applied that skill set to finances and retired a millionaire and all the stuff that you guys already know about. Scaled from 0 to 48 million in the collectively last 5 years. And I have an epic mustache. But the skills today that I'm going to be sharing and talking about, those are going to be the number one thing, the lifeblood of every company is hiring. And how do you do that without wasting everybody's time and having that burnout? Because all of us, we have a dollar amount attached to each of our jobs and positions, and we can't be doing $10 and $5 an hour jobs, especially for something so critical. So with that, I'll pass it over to Dean.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, I'm Dean. I spent about 11 years active in the Air Force. Before that, my background is very technology based. So computer engineering, electrical engineering, flight test engineering. I had some experience in digital forensics as well as AI and ML, which led me down the path as now the popularity of automation and AI is escalating. It's something that I enjoy focusing on. And then along the way, I began owning and operating my own business, real estate investing, and several businesses along the way. which really gave me that entrepreneurial passion and experience and exposure to some of the problems that we all face as business owners, as Hugh alluded to. Triaging our time in terms of what tasks are deserving, and what we can handle, because we all have too much on our plates if we're being completely honest. Also began, with that kind of that passion, started curating and hosting entrepreneur retreats. So gathering a handful of fellow small business owners and entrepreneurs together to learn and help each other and grow, kind of as a team, as a community, and have really gotten a ton out of that over the years, as well as kind of getting into, I love to teach. I love helping people. I'm an instructor in the reserves right now as well. So I do enjoy teaching and trying to help people out. So that consulting and mentorship role, those roles were also a good fit and in really good alignment with some of the retreats in the community that we're building there. And then on the personal side, I'm a dedicated dog dad, and like I said, with all the degrees and engineering stuff, certified nerd. So really love getting into all the tech and developments that are coming out. Also was lucky enough to deal with some AI implementations in the Air Force. You'll see that kind of orange F-16 in the foreground there in the bottom left picture. That was being controlled entirely by an AI agent, or really rather a series of AI agents. And it actually went out and dog fought. Air combat with that gray F-16 in the background, which was piloted manually by humans. There are safety pilots in the orange F-16, but they were hands off, and it was a complete dogfight scenario that was executed AI versus humans. So that was something that was really cool, and again aligned with the technology space. So just goes to illustrate, if it can do that, one of the most complicated tasks on the planet, it can handle your emails for you pretty well. So anyway.
Who won?
Technically the AI, but it kind of cheated. So
That's crazy. And then I'm gonna give Dean another plug here. I've been to all but one of the retreats that Dean has hosted, and they are epic. If you ever go or get the chance to go, you should absolutely take that chance. And you might learn more about one later at the end of this. All right, automate your people. This is the first step in there, but how to build a killer team without wasting time. This is a big deal. Yeah, Marty. So an introduction. This is for business owners who need top tier employees without wasting months of hiring. The general list and the general trend for people is they will spend a whole bunch of time, and then they're going to be like, oh, well, we have these listings. We haven't found a great fit. The listing's been out for 6 weeks now. All right, now it's out for 7 weeks. Now it's 8 weeks. Now it's 9 weeks. We need a guy. So you hire the next person who, barely meets your requirements or maybe doesn't, and then get them trimmed up. They're not a great fit. They waste everybody's time. And then boom, it implodes. You still need the work. So it's a slinky effect. It just happens over and over. And so we need to be able to find the top tier clients, kind of like clients, but top tier employees, so you can serve your clients the best. And you do that kind of the same way that you would find awesome customers. And so you're going to kind of select for that. So that's the gist of it. And this way will also eliminate your time. And then for a bonus is the owners who have hired people who later turned out to be terrible waste everybody's time, right? So that's a very common thing, is just that revolving door of people. It's a huge waste of time. Everybody hates it. So anyways, real quick, I have the rest of the business wealth blueprint. There's like a framework I have, and you'll see it in a second, but 30% is your marketing and your strategy and your sales and your product and how you build your product and all that stuff. 70% is your culture. If you're just a one-person company, then that's it. It's you. You are your company. And what we're talking about today, though, is the most critical part is who you bring on your team, because all of us have worked on teams before. All of us who are business owners might currently have people on our teams who we know, like, oh my gosh, when Becky doesn't show up, it's the best day ever because everybody in the office gets along, right? And that's an indication of a bad culture. And so, how do you get the right people on? And that's what we're gonna very briefly go through that. Those of you that may or may not be familiar, this is the rest of my course, 200-page 3-day course that I teach. But basically, the 30% is up here, and that is executing things. And then the culture side is like, how do you keep it going so everybody can self-heal, creatively problem solve, get everybody on board. So the problem with traditional methods is it's slow, expensive, and often it's full of fluff. There's a lot of times, I'm doing it right now, or I'm not. But a lot of people right now we're hiring, but they'll be looking through resumes, pouring through time, and it's just terrible, right? The solution is make sure you find a hiring process that lets candidates screen themselves out. And so I'm going to have a very fun way to do that. But the biggest thing I want to say is there's a dollar value attached to all of our time, right? Dean and I and some of my business partners, Marty, we've spent 4 or 5 hours to look at like a $6 million deal. And that 4 or 5 hours is critical. It'll probably be 30 hours into the entire project if we take it down. That's the only, we're the only people in the company that can do that. And we want to be spending our time doing that, not doing menial tasks. So it's really, really critical to make sure that we can go through and make sure that everybody can take care of themselves. So having great people is right. So here's J.L. Collins. He wrote Good to Great. Getting the right people on the bus is the philosophy. And a person that's being hired, when they go from being unemployed to being employed, they are their biggest customer. And if they're not going to go the extra mile for themselves, then they're not going to go the extra mile for you as or your customers. So we're going to lean on that. And I didn't come up with this. I refined it a lot. So phase 1 is attracting the right people. I'm going to talk about bald guy theory. If you're bald and you're on Tinder, then you need to include at least one picture of you being bald. Because if you don't, when you go on your date, and they find out you're bald, then they're going to feel like they're lied to. So make sure you automatically exclude things that are on there. So an example, when I was, you'll see this a lot. So like on my profile, when I was dating, I had like, hey, if you don't like dirt under your fingernails, we're probably not going to get along, right? I've seen stuff like, oh, if you're not a Democrat, then this, or if you're not a Republican, then that, swipe left or right, whatever it is. That is letting the other person disqualify themselves first. And it saves a lot of time. And so we're basically going to do that, only it's going to be for a business sense. So if for your company, you're going to want to attract the right job, or you're going to want to film a YouTube description, you're going to want to attract the right people to your company. And so I actually have 2 examples. We do not have time for them, but at the end, we'll drop them here. So here's one for a manufacturing position. Here's one for an outdoor position that we just had. But you're going to want to showcase your personality. I had a friend, and he basically is like, hey, I want bros at my company because I'm ex-military. So when he shot his video, he needs to showcase that. If you're going to be in a corporate uptight, Fortune 500 feeling company, then make sure you showcase the expectations, because you're going to attract that type of person. Make sure it comes out in the videos. And then without people knowing it, we reject 100% of applications that don't include videos. And they don't know that. So bald guy theory again. So attracting people. These are actual pictures from my actual profile. And I basically did market research, and so I created a female account, and I saw all the males account. I did some fun stuff, was able to then see what my competition was doing. And then I turned around and I basically made fun of those photos so I could attract someone with a sense of humor, right? And if they're, I don't know, really embarrassed, or they embarrass easy, then they're probably not going to get along. So they self-selected themselves out. The only people that were talking to me were people that got along. So here's the 2 videos.
It worked.
And it worked. I'm married now. Look at this. And actually my wife came to one of the events. So yeah, we don't have time to watch the videos, but we'll drop them later if anybody is interested. They are not live on my channel, but they are unlisted. So phase two. So step one, shoot a video with bald guy theory. Make sure you showcase the culture you want. Step two, the selection process is really simple. 3 out of 100, 2 to 3 out of 100 globally. Doesn't matter what industry, what country they're in. All of those will basically 2 to 3% of people will send them. So for every 100 people that send applications in, 2 people to 3 people will send a video. Those are the stats, even if you make it a requirement. But don't make it a requirement. Make it optional. Because if you make it a requirement, oftentimes you're going to get people who follow instructions, not people who go above and beyond. And so that's one of the biggest things. So we basically request them to send a video in back to us. So, all right, we're getting hundreds of applications. Now, step one, we just blanket ignore everybody unless they have a video. Cool, they have a video. We just send them an email that says, hey, great, congratulations, you're moving on to the in-person interviews. Please have read these 2 books. And then in the email, we have the links to the YouTube links that are the books. So it's free for them. And then in the email, it also says, please be prepared to answer questions for us about us and answer questions about these books. Even if they just use ChatGPT to analyze the books, you'll know that they did some research, and that's probably great. But you'll also know if they show up and have no idea what you're talking about, then that means that those folks probably aren't going to be a good fit for you. So that's the selection process. You go through. When they show up, we ask open-ended questions. You can figure that out pretty quickly. What did you like about our company most? What was your biggest takeaway from 2 Second Lean? Whatever you want, whatever you feel is important, you can do that. Final one is phase 3 is the trial period. And this is Tom Hughes, a buddy of mine. And he has a saying, I can't work with you till I worked with you. And that basically means a test project or a trial period. So we've got a 90-day probation period where everyone that comes in the company, they immediately are basically for the first 90 days, they can leave, they can come, they can go. If you are hiring someone for project-based work, a video editor, maybe you're hiring Dean to build you an AI tool. You can say, hey, cool, here's a project, finish it. Let's see how far you get. And you're going to gauge that. So the trial period, if this will fit different jobs, but it lets you kind of feel them out. And also a lot of people can fake their ways to an interview, but it's really tough. Like once they actually get in your company, if they're, the right type of person, if they're pulling their own weight, or if they're going to just drag the team down. So, real world proof, buddy, of ours, Dave, he had a hiring disaster and he didn't use the method, and he ended up hiring somebody who used his money to build his own team, and then stole all his clients. That was terrible. And then I have a personal HR guy that didn't go through that process because the company didn't want to input that process. He said, oh, I never would have been hired if this wasn't, if it was implemented. Lo and behold, that guy lasted 6 months. He jumped ship immediately to somewhere else. So it would have weeded that person out. Of course, now we have a great person for that company. And the cost savings. So this was kind of recent. ZipRecruiter, Indeed, to even look at resumes, it was like 30 to 50 bucks per application. And so in our video description, in our job description, we have, hey, here's a video description of the position you're looking for. Then our instructions for how to apply are actually in our video description. So we bypass that often. Plus, it's very easy that friends, families, they can share the link. Okay, closing thoughts around that. There was an extremely condensed variation, and we're going to have PDFs, links, and there's a full hour presentation about this if you want to watch it. But getting the right people on the bus is critical, and wasting your time, wasting your manager's time, pouring through hundreds of applications, it's just a huge, huge waste of everyone's efforts to find the wrong person and then train the wrong person and then have that revolving door happen, right? So if you can let them weed themselves out, film a video, use bald guy theory, make them jump through some hoops, and then when they do come in for a trial period. And that is is the gist of this. So we're gonna have Q&A around it towards the end of this, but I'm gonna go ahead and pass the ball over to Mr. Dean here. There we go.
Sweet. Thanks, Hugh. Let me share my screen here. All right, cool. Is that coming through okay?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, so Hugh talked about the people side of it. I'm going to try to cover more of the process side of it. So automate your processes, automate the actual work itself. Oops, wrong screen there. There we go. So why even automate in the first place? Why bother? In my mind, in my worldview, productivity is not like how much can I get done? It's not a maximization thing. It's more of an optimization problem. So it's really, to me, about protecting my most valuable and all of our most valuable and non-renewable resource, which is our time. Nice quote that I really like here from Alan Dibb here, who wrote a really good marketing book that says we can always get more time, or we can always get more money, but we can never get more time. So we want to make sure we're spending our very valuable and non-renewable time on the stuff that has the biggest impact, both in our lives, with like our family, our health, as well as in our businesses. So ultimately, what that should do is if you focus appropriately, that'll free us up to pursue what's most important to us. Maybe that's, like you said, the things that we are uniquely capable of doing in our business, that we're uniquely good at, our zone of genius, drive revenue, interact with customers. Maybe it's something we enjoy versus not enjoy. And ultimately, the goal of me trying to teach everyone automation is for all of us to make more money while at the same time investing less time and energy in the process. So does that sound good to anybody? Like, does anybody want to be able to make more money while actually spending less time and go take that time that you saved and go spend it with your family, your friends, your dog, your hamster, whatever? Like, does that sound like a pretty good deal? If you guys want to try to get something like that, just throw a me or a yes or whatever in chat. Cause like, I want to make sure that this is resonating with people because this is my why. If anybody's read that book, good book. But anyway, so if you're still not convinced, is it worth it? Like AI and automation, they're not free. I'm not going to pretend to say like this is a infinite ROI capability, right? Like it does take time, it does take effort, it does take knowledge and experience to set this up and maintain, right? It'll break sometimes. You need to upgrade it, update it with new versions that come out. So it's not free. It's not magic. It's not something for nothing. But I'm here to tell you that, in my opinion, and I hopefully I can show you that this is backed up by a lot of data, is that the benefits do indeed outweigh those costs by a significant margin. So some of the studies that have been done and some of the feedback that we've gotten, and these are not my numbers. This is like Harvard Business Review. This is, Zapier and Make.com do studies. So that's where these numbers come from. But your average small business, SMB, small or medium business, saves 30 to 40% of their staff hours. So think like admin hours, admin tasks in their first year of implementing automation and AI tools. If you do just something fairly simple, like an automated CRM stack or a smart CRM, they have given feedback that increases inbound leads by 129% and increases their close rate or their closed leads by 36%. So like that's a pretty significant uptick just by implementing some of these tools that will probably save you money in the long run as well over hiring like a dedicated human to do those tasks, and usually do it just as well, if not better, if it's set up properly. Almost 100% of SMBs that implemented some sort of AI tool say that they saw a direct boost to revenue from it. So directly correlated to like, we added this tool and now our revenue went up because of it, not just like, coincidence or like a happy accident. And then again, we're all probably have been or are currently in some sort of founder role, wearing a lot of hats, trying to do it all ourselves. I know I still am, and that's another one of my whys is like to get myself fully out of that role because it's difficult. It's very easy to just say I'll do it myself. I'm better at it. It's quicker if I do it. Like I can pretty much guarantee you, we've all said something like that at some point. So the average founder, because of the things like that, spends about 16 hours a week on repetitive tasks, admin tasks, very much not in our zone of genius, most likely. Like Hugh said, we could go take that time and reallocate it to customer acquisition or deal underwriting and review or deal sourcing, whatever we're really, really good at, and wherever we bring a ton of value, and go make $1,000 an hour versus like $10 an hour of bookkeeping, right? If we're entering our expenses into QuickBooks or whatever. And then ultimately, these are the type of things that give you these tools. They give you 24/7 output. They can run day or night, awake or sleep. They don't need human input if you set them up properly. Essentially zero marginal cost. There is usually some, amortized maintenance that you have to do, like, once a month or once every couple of months, depending on how many automations you have set up. They do break. If your systems change, you need to update the interfaces. New versions will come out. You may need to tweak it. Your needs change, right? So how you interact with customers, what tasks you need to do, like all that stuff is dynamic. So you will have some sort of maintenance cost. But if you compare that to like your average like admin assistant, customer success manager, back office person in general, you're paying them, 60 to 90K a year for the good ones, maybe a little bit less than that for like your base level, entry level people. But even VAs, I mean, you get a virtual assistant, you're paying them 8, 10, $12 an hour for a decent one, who's not super specialized. That, 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week, like that adds up. And no HR complaints yet. We'll see. We'll see if AI kind of develops a personality or not. But AI tools and automation, like they cost you a fraction of that, whether that's even a VA salary, and they give you several times the output. Again, 24/7. They don't sleep. They don't eat. They don't take breaks. And frankly, if you know what you're doing, they're much quicker and easier to train than a human in most cases. So hopefully you guys now are starting to get a picture of like some of the possibilities, some of the disproportionate benefits that these type of tools can provide. Okay, so just setting like baseline understanding of what the difference is, because I hear people all the time use a lot of these terms interchangeably, or they're not really sure what they mean or what the difference is. So when you're talking about automation versus AI or artificial intelligence, they're very different things. There is a significant difference. They can be used together, which is what I'm going to talk about. But automation is very structured. AI is more adaptive. Automation is deterministic, meaning if you give it the same input, it'll almost always give you the same output or very close, depending on how it's set up. Versus artificial intelligence is more dynamic and it can give you different answers. It can give you nuance. It's not always going to be the same input, same output. That can be good or bad. We'll talk about that later. Automation really just follows instructions. You tell it what to do in a structured manner, and it will follow those instructions to the letter, which again can be good or bad depending on how well you set it up and what you're looking to get out of it. Versus AI, it can kind of think. It can adapt. It can kind of interpolate a little bit. Now, there's an algorithm behind that, so it's not like a real human brain or a real human thinker. But we're getting closer, and it's designed to mimic human reasoning. So it is pretty close. Automation will just supply you answers. It'll just, 1 + 1 = 2. Versus AI can give you some semblance of judgment. It can kind of read into things. It can give you recommendations and different perspectives. That's how I like to use it a lot as well, is to get ideation and different perspectives that I may not have thought of, because it has a much larger and diverse knowledge database. And then workflows are really just talking about kind of laying out the execution stages of a process. So steps, it's just laying out your steps in a workflow. You have the basis of that is that your inputs, your actions that you take on each step, your actors. So who's doing what are you interfacing with? Are you sending data to and from somewhere? What conditions? We'll talk about a little bit more about what that means later. And then your outputs, like what is this thing supposed to give you back at the end of the day? And yeah, I will assert that in most cases, the automation and AI combo, when they're used together in tandem, is really the most powerful. Like that's what's gonna make you real money and save real time at the end of the day without sacrificing quality. Okay, so we could do a whole 10 webinar series on prompt engineering, but we're going to just break it down real quick. For anybody who feels like they're not getting great results out of ChatGPT, out of Claude, out of the other LLMs, large language models, colloquially AIs out there. So hopefully this can at least set a baseline of good versus bad, and some tips to try if you're not quite getting the responses that you're hoping for or the quality that you're hoping for. So we'll start off with a bad example, a negative example, just asking it like super general, super vague. Give me this. Give me a social media post. Okay, great. You gave it a topic, but like what that, imagine if you went up to a human, even a social media manager, and said, write me a post about nail salons. The social media manager would be like, dude, what? Like, no. I need more info to be able to effectively do my job, and AI is no different. So kind of the basic formula that'll get you a pretty decent solution in most cases is going to be stating the role and objective, stating the task that you want it to complete, giving it some context around you, your target audience, your customer, and then the format, the output format. If you want it to be in a certain format, it's usually helpful in most cases, and especially if you need it to be very consistent, or if you have something specific in mind. And then examples are really, really useful. So if you're not giving ChatGPT examples, again, both good and bad, like we did here, you're not maximizing its potential. That's going to make a big difference. And I don't even talk about this today in the webinar, but this is a huge thing that we could also get into at some future date, is talking about like training it on your brand voice, training it on how you speak, how you interact with customers, your writing style. There's a whole like strategy that goes into all that, a whole process that goes into all that if you want to do it right. Even when a lot of people try to do it and they just give it a couple of like emails that you've sent or a couple of posts that you've made, and say, hey, mimic my writing, like, okay, now you're starting to get in there. But anyway, I won't go down the rabbit hole. There's a lot to that. And it can make it very effective. Okay, so here are some examples for role. Like, you are a professional marketing manager, you're experienced in helping your niche. And then you say, hey, I need help. This is your objective. I need help doing this. This is what I'm trying to do. And it kind of sets the frame. So instead of AI having to look through its entire, terabytes of data from the internet that it's been trained on, it can focus its efforts and really neck down on, all right, I want to kind of go pull everything from my database that's relevant to marketing for nail salon owners. And that really narrows it down. It makes it much more effective and focused. Just like we would if we were going into a library and we're like, all right, I only want books on marketing strategy and nail salons. And then you can start to build your knowledge on that topic. Crafting high converting, so that those types of qualifiers are really helpful as well. So it knows my objective is to convert leads. So, otherwise it'd say maybe my objective is to entertain them. Maybe I want to make them laugh. No, I want to convert them. I want them to take an action, go to my website, sign up for my webinar, whatever it is, marketing materials for my salon. So I am a salon owner. Your task. So these can overlap with objective a little bit, but specify exactly what you want it to do, including kind of the output you want it to give. So I want this to build a marketing campaign and I want to retarget former customers. So now it's a very specific type of marketing campaign. It's not just awareness. It's not advertising a sale. You're actually saying like, hey, I have former customers who have bought from me within the past 6 months, or not within the past 6 months, but they have bought from me in the past. I want to try to retarget them and get them to re-engage and buy from me again. So now it knows the context, it knows its task. The actual context surrounding that task and surrounding you and your clients and your objective, give it information about your avatar. Like, who is my typical customer? Who am I trying to reach? What is my brand like? Again, do I use humor in my ads? Am I very serious? Am I professional? And this will all tie together. What am I offering? Maybe you retarget them using a sale or some, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. We'd love to have you come back. We'd love to give you 10% off your next order if you come back and shop with us. Marketing strategies like that. Format, again, depends on if you're doing a Twitter post, right? 120 characters or whatever. And then, which I don't think is a requirement anymore, but anyway, if you want it to be a certain length. So, hey, I want to keep these emails short and sweet, less than 200 words per email. I want you to give me a subject line and 3 paragraphs. And you can even say, like, here's what I want, and here's the type of thing I want in each paragraph, or the theme of each paragraph. Use emojis sparingly, right? Like, again, going back to serious versus kind of engaged and whimsical. And then I want you to put a CTA at the end. Here's my signature block, the standard signature block that I always use. Pop that in there every time you give a response. And you can do things like put it in Markdown language, which is a formatting language, and it keeps it very standardized. You can import and export that more easily into different applications and use cases, but give it some sort of format, how you want it to give you the information back out. And then again, give those actual examples, both good and bad. Here's what I want you to write like. Here's what I want you to not write like. And I have an example of that later in one of the actual real world examples that we do. Okay, prompt power up. So those were the basics. Here's a few things to go kind of take it even a little bit further to the next level. Clear and specific, like you should always be doing that, but the more clarity, the more specificity. I almost always write like a big paragraph when I'm prompting ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. It's not just, again, one sentence and hit send. Like, yeah, for some tasks that's okay and you'll get decent info back, but you're not going to stand out from everybody else who's doing the exact same thing, and you're not going to get the most tailored, customized, appropriate response to what you're looking for. Control your context. We talked about that. The tone. So again, how do you want it to? What type of tone of voice and writing style do you want it to use? Scope. I want you to talk about this, but don't talk about this. That's too broad for this topic. And then depth. Is this for a beginner audience, intermediate audience, advanced audience? Guardrails are kind of the opposite of that, telling it where not to go. So hopefully we've all heard the term hallucinations, which basically means the AI makes stuff up, especially if it doesn't know the answer, or if it thinks you want a certain answer, it may make stuff up. So that is one of the dangers of LLMs. You can kind of advise it and instruct it like, hey, if you don't know the answer to something, like, don't tell me you don't know. Say, hey, I don't have that information, or I'm not sure. That can help. It doesn't always eliminate it 100%. The models are getting better. That's one thing the companies are working hard to eliminate, because it is a big problem. And maintain focus. Like, we need you to talk about this topic. Don't go over here and start talking about something tangential. Zero shot versus multi-shot prompting. Those are just fancy terms for exactly what we were just talking about before, which is if you give it one sentence that's super vague, that's zero shot. It's very, high level, not specific. You're going to get a very generic, vague answer. Multi-shot is like giving it those multiple examples. So there's terms, one shot, two shots, like giving it one example, giving it two examples. But any examples you give it is multi-shot prompting, which means you are giving it some reference material to say, I want you to emulate this. And a bad example, I don't want you to emulate this. I want you to avoid using this. Another way to limit hallucinations, or really only reference the either proprietary info or info that you want it to focus on, is a knowledge database. So you can upload information, whether that's a PDF, Word document, even pictures. So multimodal now, it can look at pictures and analyze them. Notebook LM by Google is one of the best at this. It will pretty much only look at what you upload. So it is, I'll say, the closest to completely eliminating hallucinations. However, you have to provide it with your knowledge material. So it doesn't go and look at its training material, the internet. It will look at what you give it. So it's really good for like studying and researching if you upload a paper or something like that. It's much closer, as close as we have right now, to sticking to the truth and not kind of veering off. Custom GPTs or assistants are two terms for kind of the same thing. You are basically giving it an internal prompt that it always references every time you run it, as well as potentially knowledge or code, or you can upload other stuff to it as well. And it's kind of like a function in programming where you can now it's built and it has the same instructions every time, and you can just reach out and call it when you want it to do the thing that it's built for. So you can have an assistant that helps you write content. That assistant is trained in your brand voice. It's trained on your brand context. It has all that information. You don't have to type it in every single time, and it's built to do a very specific task. And remember, the more specificity, the better outputs you typically get. It's just like a human. The more you train them, the more specific of a task you train them in, the better they get at it. So same thing. And then little programming joke, just essentially that is the code version of saying iterate until it's perfect. So keep iterating. You're not going to get the best answer on the first try. You can have, it's like writing a first draft, right? Like very few people write a first draft and like that's their final product because there's always opportunities to go back and revise and improve. And AI is the same way when you're prompting. Okay. This is super important for all business owners. Um, Again, don't have time to like deep dive into this topic because there's more to it, but this is a super high level of how to get started. And this will feed into all sorts of benefits for your business when that turns into documentation of your processes, creating SOPs, onboarding and training new employees, onboarding and training new clients, and of course, automations, which is what we're here to talk about. So with process mapping, kind of the super simple how to is you get a workflow. Remember, we talked about workflow is just a process in your business. It's just the definition of it. You list those steps out. So, how do I go from start to finish of this process? Like, what do I have? What actions do I have to take? Who has to take them? Connect those steps and say, okay, how do I get from point A to point B? Any handoffs between different categories of employee, duties of employee, different software, stuff like that. And then what triggers it? Is it time based? Is it event based? Um, and yeah, ultimately, mapping is going to help you with a wide range of things, everything from documenting these so you can have a consistent, well defined, and repeatable business model. To determining the best COA for what to do with these tasks, which we'll talk about in a second. So this little diagram here on the bottom, and I'm sorry, I did not advance the slide. So this little diagram here on the bottom is swim lane is what it's called because it looks like different little swim lanes that you see at the bottom of a pool. So what these lanes represent is different duties or different roles. So not necessarily who is doing it, but the category of role. So you see, I don't have Julie written on the left side there. This doesn't say Sam or Julie. It says CRM team. So anybody in the CRM team who's trained in that role can, in theory, do these types, every task in this lane. So this is where it starts. The CRM team will receive a web lead. The CRM team will qualify that lead. And then once they get a scheduled call, you'll see it crosses lanes. So that's the handoff there that goes from the CRM team to the sales team. So once we get a scheduled call, the sales team will hop on that sales call and try to close that client or that prospect, that lead. And then we go to a decision tree here from the sales call that says, all right, did the prospect, did the lead close, decide to buy? Did they place an order? If no, then we put that lead into a re-engagement campaign, and then we keep hitting them and keep do our campaign on them until hopefully they schedule another call. We get them back on a sales call, or maybe they go direct to purchase. You could have another line coming off of here that says, hey, they placed their order, great. But once we finally get them to place an order, now it goes to the technician whose job is to actually deliver that product or service, whatever that is. Maybe it's a warehouse employee that packages it and ships it, or maybe it's a digital service where I have to build an automation for somebody, right? So that's the very simple, very broad process map example. All right. No presentation is complete without a good eye chart. So there's a lot of data on this. I won't read it to everybody. So you guys can read for yourselves. Feel free to screenshot, what have you. I'll try to hit the high points of this, which is RPA, robotic process automation, which is kind of like those workflows, just automation, vanilla automation, we'll call it, with no AI enhancements. Your AI powered automation. So that's starting to incorporate AI into your workflows, into your automations. And then AI agents, or you may hear the term agentic, which just means agent. So big picture, like RPA just follows rules. It's very strict. AI powered automation follows rules with AI in the loop, where it can start to make some, local decisions and local interpretations. And then AI agent is essentially like having an AI employee where you go, hey, Joe, I need you to accomplish this task this week. And it goes copy and it goes off on its own and does whatever it needs to do to get that done with no more input from you. I'm assuming it's a good employee and Joe is not needy and incompetent and has to come back to you every 5 seconds, right? That would be like a regular AI LLM where you are constantly giving it, instructions and feedback. AI agents are truly, right now they're not quite there yet, but in theory, a true AI agent is fully autonomous. and it can go out and do on its own thing. And you can say, hey, do this every day at 8 a.m. And it goes, yep, sweet, got it. And every day at 8 a.m., it'll go out and do whatever you told it and complete that. Kind of a fun example when they were still developing these is they made an AI agent. They gave it instructions to go. Like, they're like, here's $20, go buy this thing. And it ran into a CAPTCHA, which is like one of those, hey, are you human tests? And it used some of its $20 to hire a VA, a freelancer on Fiverr. And it said to the freelancer, hey, I need you to complete this human test, this CAPTCHA for me. And the freelancer is like, why? Are you a robot? And the robot was like, no, I'm blind, or I'm disabled. I need you to help me complete this CAPTCHA. And the freelancer was like, okay. And it made it through the are you human check, and rented the thing or bought the thing. So they're getting there. Like, they're, again, I'll be the first to say they're not quite there yet in terms of true agentic agents, but they're getting really, really good. And the approximations that we have again are very powerful. You can do most of the tasks that you need, especially the kind of the simpler ones. The tech is just, again, is it a simple if then, or are we incorporating some like decision tree LLM magic in the background that's simulating human reasoning? Best tasks, RPA, repetitive, deterministic. We can give it if then statements. It's the same every time. Really, the biggest trade-off you're getting is people say, well, why wouldn't I use an AI agent all the time? Why wouldn't I use the best? Because you can always figure it out. They cost more. You're going to have to pay OpenAI every time you reach out and touch this thing. And it's going to be slower because it has to go through, it's a lot of compute power, a lot of processing power, which is also why it's expensive. So if you have simple tasks that don't change a lot and they don't need thought, then go with an RPA because it's faster and it's cheaper. And you're still going to get basically the same result. If you need complex stuff, go for an agent. If you need something in between where it's a repetitive process, but you would like some personalization, you want to ask Bob how his dog's birthday went. Okay, like AI can reach into your CRM and kind of review the notes and look and add that personalization and customizable stuff in there and do it for each of your clients versus you having to do that manually or set up this huge, in theory, you could probably do something similar with a strictly, rule-based automation, but it's a lot of building. Okay, so the building blocks, the basics of automation, here are kind of the fundamentals. And with these, you can build pretty much any automation you want. So a trigger is what's starting it, what's telling you need to start this. Okay, got this form submission. Great, I need to kick off this workflow, this automation. Condition or filter, again, that's your conditional statements. So if this invoice is greater than $500, I'll do this other thing. If not, I just hang out and wait for one that is greater than $500. Action is self-explanatory. What action do I take? Do I write to a database? Do I send a Slack message? Do I, read an email? What do I do? And then one complete workflow is called different things in different software, but a scenario in make.com or a Zap in Zapier, which are two of the most common kind of low code, no code automation tools out there. They're web-based. A module is just one step in a workflow. So in your scenario, you have 5 different, 10 different, 100 different modules. And those are those triggers, conditionals, actions. That's what goes in each module, each step. Now, when you add an AI module as one of those modules in your workflow, now you have an AI-powered, AI-enhanced automation, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, you can then query and run information through LLMs and get their response and thoughts back. Again, just giving your automations the power to adapt to unforeseen circumstances or questions that you didn't anticipate or predict, or maybe that you don't even have the answer to, right? Like, they have the internet at their fingertips. We do too, but we're slower at it. And if your customer service agent is AI, it can immediately just go reach out on the internet in any language, talk to somebody in any language, not any, almost all the common languages, and get that information immediately. So you don't have to rely on yourself or a VA or anybody else to be handling those tasks. And analysis. It's really good at looking at large quantities of data and giving you an analysis, a summary of, hey, what's going on here, or what does it think? So let's look at a real world example. This is a deep personalization. I say cold, it's more of a warm outreach automation. And what it does with those modules in the bottom diagram here, what these steps each do is they go through and they scrape leads from LinkedIn. So you can go to use a tool like Apollo and say, hey, I'm looking for, business owners with between 10 and 50 employees in these categories. I want landscapers. That's it in Denver. It'll return you a big list. You can then process that list. So don't worry too much about what parse, aggregate, and iterate means. But it basically just means like get rid of the info I don't care about, put it all in an array, kind of a list, and then step through that list and do these last 3 steps for each item in that list, which is each of your potential leads. And those steps are then use ChatGPT here, or OpenAI, to write a cold email based on the personal information that you scraped from LinkedIn about this prospect. And then the second step is, I think, kind of cool because what percentage of people respond to your first cold email? It's pretty low usually. So right off the bat, I'm like, I'm probably going to have to send a follow-up email. Let's just write it right now. So now I have my initial email and my follow-up email. I save those into my leads database. Here I used Excel or Google Sheets. You can use your CRM. You can use Airtable. You can use a whole bunch of things, outputs. But just as an example of a super simple free option to create a database, if you don't already have one, is Google Sheets. It's fine. But for most people, it's a good place to start. So here's what this outputs: name, title, organization, headline. Here's a link to their profile, LinkedIn profile. Here's a link to their company website. Here's what industry they're in. Here's their email. And that's another thing Apollo does, is it scrapes emails for you. Here's their phone, if it's a phone number, if it's available. All this stuff came from me scraping those leads and then feeding it into the rest of the workflow and into ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT looks at that. You can pull LinkedIn posts that they've made and say, hey, I really love that article you wrote about, such and such development in such and such industry. It's so cool that you're like leading the way and pioneering this new technology or whatever they're doing. So again, that's why I call it like warm outreach, because it's personalized. You're taking information about them that otherwise would have taken me sitting down for 20 minutes and reading through their Instagram or LinkedIn posts to create an email that stands out because it shows that I care and I looked into them, which I didn't because I used AI to do it, but it looks like I did. And hopefully you review it. Like that's the important part. But it helps you stand out from the crowd of all other cold emails, and it can help you better target your actual audience as well, as opposed to just shotgun blasting out there. And here's what I was going to say earlier in terms of telling it what not to do. Here's a great example. When I first built this, it was doing a lot of the very like flowery common office speak of like, hope this email finds you well. And I had to tweak the instructions in the assistant to say, hey, that's stupid. Like that sounds dumb. Nobody likes that language. You can tell it's fake. You can tell it's canned. Like don't talk like that. And I gave it examples of what not to say. So that's that's an example of iterating. It's an example of kind of giving it more context and customization. So yeah. Okay. I am all about actionable outcomes. So I didn't want you guys to leave today without kind of steps on what to do next. If you want to start implementing with some of this stuff or trying it out, here's a super simple way. You can start this on Monday. You can start it tomorrow if you want, or if you want to work on the weekend, you can start it over the weekend. But it's super simple and it'll get you started. It'll get you some experience with this and trial and error. Like it's not going to be perfect the first time. You'll need to iterate. But create a process map. Pick one repetitive task in your business. Go back to that swim lane diagram and lay it out. What roles are involved, what steps are involved, what tools are involved, where's the handoff, where are the interactions. That will help you A, define the task so you can document it, and B, disposition the task. And what I mean by that is we didn't talk about eliminate or delegate here today. Those are the 2 other options you have in terms of I have this task audit. I've looked at what tasks I have in my business. I want to be critical about them and not just be doing things for no reason. They need to add value. So if it doesn't add value and I don't need to keep doing it, just eliminate it, get rid of it, just stop doing it. That's the easiest and the most impactful because now you are just not doing that task anymore. Automation is great if you can, if it fits in that bucket and you think it's something you can automate, which is like 95% of things, great, let's do that. If I need to delegate it, if it's like an in-person task, right? AI can't pick up my laundry yet. So if I need to delegate it to a human, I can do that. If I think a VA or a specialist will be better at this task, I'll delegate it. Otherwise, put it in the automate bucket. If you put it in the automate bucket, now does it belong with RPA? Is that how I replicate it? Is that how I automate it? Do I need AI involved, or do I need a full up AI agent? And hopefully, you can use that chart, that table, to kind of help steer you to one of those. Um, and then take that workflow that you've now defined with your process map and translate it into Zapier, or Make, or N8N. But for beginners, Make and Zapier are typically easier. They both have free versions. There's a limited number of runs, and there's other limitations you can do. But for most people getting started, it's a great way to learn for free. It's a great way to try it for free. And you can do a lot of stuff in there before you hit the limit, to be honest, unless you're running like hundreds of repetitions per day. So, and then always it's a good idea to measure. So benchmark how long this task takes you by automating it, by offloading it. How much time are you getting back? Is it increasing your effectiveness? Are you closing more leads? Are you getting more responses, getting more engagement? And then iterate. Sound like a broken record. I'm iterating, but like just keep iterating. Like you need to keep getting better at it. It's never going to be perfect the first time. So hopefully that's a good, just super quick. Take you a couple hours, but that's the type of thing that can really get you started quickly and easily and start to move the needle on some of these returns.
Hey, cool. Well, we're gonna go into some photo or some Q&A here in a second, because I have some questions for you, Dean, as well. But we have an exciting thing that's going on. We have a silo summit. So we own a Atlas Class F missile silo in an undisclosed location in Kansas. And we are going to be hosting an event. It's going to be a 2.5-day event, all expenses included, food, drinks, shelter, and it's going to be limited to 10 spots there's going to be 2 cohorts that you can join, but there'll be 10 spots each. Everyone can go there. And the only thing you'd be paying for outside of that is however you get yourself to Kansas. But with that, we are going to actually be giving a bonus. Oh, yeah. Next slide, please. So we've had several in the past. There was an original silo summit that we had 2 to 3 years ago. These are some testimonials from other events that Dean has hosted, and it is really, really fun to go. It is going to be August 12th, the week of August 12th. There's going to be a 2.5-day event during the week and a 2.5-day event starting Friday evening for those who can't join. And so that's kind of how the cohort are broken up. When you leave, you're going to be leaving with 2 actual AI automations that you own, but the event's going to be more around teaching you how to catch fish. So you're going to learn how to build it, go through what Dean was just talking about for half of it. The other half is going to be the business front end, which will automate your people. So the rest of here's how the business works for the Business Wealth Blueprint, you're going to get all of that as well. And we're going to be identifying threats while we're there on site to your business and opportunities, and building systems and processes around it on the business side and on the automation side. So and then we're also going to have 2 weeks or 2 months of follow-up. So we can all do that. So if you're interested in joining, here's the link. I actually have the link pulled up. There's the landing page if you want to look at it. But you guys, for joining this webinar, get a bonus for the next 48 hours. You can save $200 off by using the code AI June 4, which is the date today. Dean, anything else you want to add to that?
I wanted to answer your question that I just saw in the chat. Yes, ClickUp and Trello both have integrations with Make and Zapier, which what that means is it's built right in, like it's already pre-connected for you. You can connect pretty much
one over to the next Q&A slide.
Yeah, you can connect pretty much anything to them with a little bit of knowledge and API
Zapier
access.
And I know some people were wondering it already. So you had your workflow that was scraping LinkedIn, doing warm emails, and then are you just putting those into Go High Level or something? And then Go High
Yeah,
Level
so
is reaching
for
out for you?
for that kind of demo, I just did it to Google Sheets, and it's literally just a spreadsheet. But yes, you can do it. You can add a contact in Go High Level. You can add a contact in insert CRM here, and
And then that can automatically be picked up.
hmm?
You add it and create tags and stuff probably.
Yes, I'm pretty sure there is an action for the Go High Level link in Make. I'm more familiar with Make. That's the one I primarily use. That can create tags and add tags to contact.
Huh.
And I think I had this in parentheses on the bottom step. Is I did not have it doing this, but yeah, if you link it to your CRM or you link it to your Gmail, you can have it create and send an email for you as well. So you don't have to leave it in the spreadsheet. You can then go add an extra step. Just one more step has it sending the email for you. What I like to do is have it create a draft for me and put it in my drafts folder, and I'll give it one final QC because I still like to kind of be human in the loop. We know people, Hema, who she lets the thing go rogue and send its own emails, and that's a lot of trust. But she spent a lot of time, developing that, and what I recommend people do is like look for do 1,000 and kind of keep track and be like, okay, how many of these did I edit? And when you're editing like 5-10% or less, it's like, all right, it's probably good enough to let it do its own thing. Then I don't even have to touch it anymore
Nice.
because I'm confident. I built that confident that it's consistent. So
Well, does anybody else have any questions? It looks like earlier we had Marty say, "I need this kind of AI in my business." Any questions on what? What?
yeah, it's helpful. I don't want to go back, to be honest. Like if I had to start doing a lot of the stuff myself again, I would probably lose my mind. So
No, I think it's pretty great. What's the cost? What does it cost to have some like Make? I think was one of them. Apollo. You said you're right. You're buying. Was it credits or monthly subscriptions?
yeah, there's a couple of like limitations that they have between tiers. The biggest one is operations per month. So like how many modules are you running per month? I think let me see. Yeah, the free version you get up to 1,000 per month. So like again, unless you're doing a lot, which you can hit that pretty quick depending on what your automations are. But yeah, they limit the number of scenarios you can have running. They limit different stuff. But like even if you go up to the 10,000 operations per month, the core level, it's $9 a month.
It's pretty good.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think their most expensive is their most expensive tier is 10,000 operations per month plus a couple other things. That's $16 a month. Beyond that, you can go talk to their sales team and they do custom pricing. I'm pretty sure it's still based on. Oh no, just kidding. There's a drop down. Yeah, so if you need 500,000 operations per month, that's still only $400 a month. Like, imagine paying how many people you'd have to pay to do 500,000 operations in your business per month. Like more than one.
Looks like we got a question in the chat. Dean, you mentioned having a voice AI. How far away are we from having a full-fledged chat bot who can take calls from tenants for a property management company?
We are 0 days away. That is now. That is happening now. It's how much do you want to spend? They're again, I think there's still less. Even like the really good ones are probably still less than hiring a full time person to do that. So a couple $100 a month is what I remember seeing. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's somewhere in that ballpark. And they're pretty damn good. I have some examples, but it would take me too long to find them. But just Google like voice AI agent demo or something like that, and you can hear recordings. They've gotten pretty good. Yeah.
We have another question. What will I get exactly by attending the Silo Summit? What deliverables can I expect?
This stuff, all that. Yeah, Hugh mentioned the custom systems, so we'll help you build those custom systems. Hugh, you're going to go through kind of like I think you said you called it the threat analysis. So we're going to look at um, you know your
Yeah.
operations,
So
like where the gaps are, stuff like that.
Yeah. So this the rough schedule is going to be a welcome dinner, everybody meet and greet. Let's get the hey, I don't know each other out of the way. But then also we're going to be getting the threat analysis and get information gathering out of the way on the first evening. So then the next day, it was basically going to be mornings will be business oriented, kind of my piece, which is going to be hey, let's look at your P&L and let's strategize and let's see if there's anything odd that we should be looking at. And then the next step is taking that same information and saying, well, what repetitive tasks do you have? How do we build that? And you're also going to be doing a lot of the things is there's a lot of companies have teams, and a lot of those teams are completely burnt out, and they're burnt out because their teams are constantly reacting to things instead of being proactive, or they're just repetitively doing tasks. So when you leave, you're going to leave with two customizations, but really you're going to leave with knowing how to do them and build them yourself. So when you get back, you can do that. Plus, there's going to be 2 months of aftercare. So
Pretty
a weekly.
much, yeah, pretty much everything we talked about in this presentation, in this webinar today, like we're going to be going into a lot more detail on all those topics. So the process mapping, we're going to actually go through and help you do that in detail. Kind of the AI crash course and automation crash course, we're going to be going more in depth into that prompt engineering, how to build those AI assistants and custom GPTs, how to build those automations. And then, like you said, and like I said about being obsessed with action and a game plan. We're going to build blueprints for everybody, like kind of a roadmap of all right, here's all the cool stuff we learned. Now, how do we implement this in your specific business? It's going to be tailored. Like it's a custom tailored roadmap to getting all this stuff up and running and actually making a difference.
And we have three or four. I mean, the high level stuff here, it's like we're going to build that. What you'll leave with is going to be tailored for your business, whatever it is. And that's what you don't get when you're, on a webinar that's large. When you attend a lot of events that are, hey, I'm going to go to a conference and learn about this. A lot of that stuff is one size fits all because they're talking to a big room. So we intentionally set this up as a workshop style. All right, we have another group chat question. Would AI be a replacement for a reservation service at a hotel or Airbnb?
Yeah, I think I don't know that I would use. Well, I guess okay. So clarification question: reservation service, as in like you want them to be able to call in and talk to somebody, or just make a reservation, like you go to a hotel website, punch in your dates and room type, and hit book. Because the latter is very structured and simple, and you don't really need too much, um, you know, customization in the loop. So that you could automate that very easily and have it like integrate with your booking system and your calendar system. If you want like a customer service rep or a receptionist, essentially a virtual receptionist, yes, you could do that with AI. And even like Marty was asking about the voice AI, now you can have them call in and it sounds like a real person that you're talking to. I have a friend that uses it in his sales business, and he's like 9 out of 10 people that it talks to don't have no idea it's AI, or at least they don't say anything. So you can give it the information on your particular business, your particular hotel or Airbnb, all the FAQs and whatever check-in, check-out procedures, like whatever info that you would have or your assistant would have as a customer service agent. You upload that to your AI, so ChatGPT or whatever you're using, and then it has that as reference material, so it knows all the answers to whatever a potential customer or guest would want to know or want to ask you.
We have a question in the Q&A section.
Ooh.
Can I use this with chats if I have a chat on my website?
Oh, that's weird. I don't see. Huh? It doesn't show up on my end. We'll have to look into that, Hugh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Chatbots, like web embedded chatbots in your website have been around for a long time. They're the dumb ones that we're probably all used to, which is just like press one if you want to look at your billing thing. Those have been around forever and they're obnoxious. And now, and for the past couple of years, the text-based ones, like that was how the chatbots, the AI agents, support agents kind of started, was the text base, because you're essentially just hooking it up to the ChatGPT API, OpenAI API, and yeah, running it through that. So it's really the back end works the same as a voice agent, where you can do all the stuff I just said, upload information about your business, FAQs, into its knowledge database. The only difference is the voice agent is taking an extra step where it's like thinking in text and then it just converts it to text to speech that it has. That's another like algorithm that it runs through. So yes, yep.
I have another question in the Q&A section. I guess you're not seeing those.
Nope.
Can I do A and B comparisons testing for phases, or no, it's how can I do A/B testing, test phases for marketing easily with AI?
Hmm. That's a good question. I would say probably, well, so it depends what platform you're using, first of all. So if you're using, again, Go High Level is the one that we both use, that has some built-in A/B testing, split testing functionality. Um, so if that's what you're asking, I guess there's a couple different ways you could use it. You could use it to generate the variations. So you could say either like, here's what I have that I built in Canva. Please, give me a variant that I can test to compare. And you can instruct it only change these things, or change whatever you think is best, but keep it to a maximum of 3 changes, so they're fairly similar. So it can help with the design phase. Usually, whatever you're hosting it on, like Go High Level or oh gosh, that's the like Beehive is another like marketing platform. Those usually have like the split test execution phase built in. So you upload whatever you want it to split test, whether that's an email marketing copy or a picture, ad, an image ad, or a video ad. The meta ads do the same thing. Upload your 2 variants or however many you have. It'll run it, and then it'll get your data back. That's the other place I would say AI could be pretty helpful in enhancing your ability to split test, is helping you analyze the results that you get back, the data. So you can say like, hey, like, what would you make of this? Here are the 2 things. Here are the results. What would you change? Why do you think we got these results? What do you think was a causal factor? It can help inform you in that regard, I think, as well. So those are the kind of the 2 or 3 areas in that whole process that I would say I would probably be most helpful.
Cool. Anybody else have any other questions? No questions. Any closing thoughts? Anywho, if anyone is interested in connecting, you've got the download the Lean Hiring PDF. That'll take you over to my site that you can download all that for. And then we also have the Silo Summit. There is the link there. And then there was a question, how much one-on-one time are we going to get? Right. It's not just, hey, we're going to sit and listen. We intentionally made it a workshop based. We intentionally made it small. It's effectively the entire thing is one-on-one. So it's 1 to 5 instructors, 2 instructors, 10 people. We might have some helpers in there as well. So that's for 2.5 days that you nearly get undivided attention. So that's the whole point of that time. And thanks for attending, guys. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Here's our information, and we can leave that up.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate your time and for joining us today. Hopefully you got a lot out of it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dean. Appreciate it.